Can't even read them.
Read them.
You forgot the slashes.
I'll look at, put my glasses on and look at them in a minute.
All right.
Okay. We are grateful to have so many candidates here, especially appreciate those who are running for this state positions to be here tonight. I'm not going to introduce you, I'll let you introduce yourselves. And that's where we'll start off. I think we'll just have each candidate take a couple minutes to introduce themselves, tell us what they want us to know.
My name is Oneida. I'm running for sheriff on the independent, as an independent candidate for the county. I've lived in Oneida County for a little over 34 years. I've raised 3 kids. My wife Tony's here with me tonight. Thank you, sweetheart. I've worked for 4 sheriffs in this county, including Sheriff Simrad. I'd like to think I'd be able to bring all of them to the Sheriff's Department and run an effective department. Right now I serve on the Oneida Volunteer Fire Department and have been for 26 years. I've also served with the Oneida County Search and Rescue. I serve currently with the rescue team with the EMTs. The last 5 summers I've worked as a water master for 2 water companies in the valley, which, if you know how water goes and being a water master is, you're working at it. And I've had the opportunity to work with almost 200 shareholders and had a good time at it and enjoyed my work. As sheriff, I hope to bring back fairness, trust to the Sheriff's Department, responsibility to the people. I want to work for you, all of you, all the voters in the county. If my door will be open all the time, if I'm not there, I'm probably going to be out on the road patrol as a patrol officer too. So, thank you.
Good evening. I appreciate Farm Bureau putting this on, and I appreciate all of you being here as well. I appreciate my family being here, my wife Lorraine and son Claire. My name is Jeff Simrad. I've been sheriff for 14 years here. Prior to that, I was about 14 years with the Idaho State Police, and then prior to that, I started here in '82 under Sheriff Ken Morton. About 30 years now total in law enforcement. I've enjoyed being your sheriff. I feel like I'm qualified, and I think I have a proven record, and I work with some of the best officers and office staff that I could ask for. There's a lot of talk, as you just heard, about bringing public trust back to our community through law enforcement. I'll be honest with you, I don't agree with that. We have a lot of programs that we've started in this community with youth. When I come in, we reestablished the school resource program. We started the DARE curriculum in the 5th grade. We're involved with health classes. We're involved with driver's ed classes. We're involved with church groups. The SAD program, Students Against Drunk Driving. Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, Red Ribbon Week, Health Fair. We do a lot of public events and talk to a lot of people about education on various subjects, drugs, violence, whatever the case might be. We just had a class a couple weeks ago on concealed weapons. As I said, I work with a great staff, and I feel bad that they have been berated and demeaned in the paper by my opponent because they are people of integrity. And no matter what happens with me, I want it known that they are good people. They care about this community, whether they're full-time, part-time, volunteers for search and rescue, it doesn't matter. They're dedicated and people of integrity, and I enjoy working with each one of them, and I'm proud of them, and I'm pleased with them. And I think this community should be too. When I came in, the sheriff was made clear to me that the drug problem was what people wanted me to go after first, and we have done that. Over the last 14 years, we've made over 300 arrests for drug-related crimes. That's a little over, that's 22, average of 22 a year, average of about 2 a month. Now you might think that's just a cuff and stuff program, but through these investigations, we're able to solve other crimes, burglaries and domestic violence problems and child abuse and neglect cases. We've started a text-to-tip program. I know the community trusts us because we get a lot of text-to-tips and a lot of anonymous information that leads to search warrants and arrests and things like that. We support the drug court program, the sheriff program, and the rider program. These are all rehabilitation programs for those arrested. Everyone's offered those programs if they want to take care of that, if they want help. But they have to be arrested in order to do that. There's other things I hopefully will get to tonight, but I do appreciate your support and look forward to serving you another 4 years. Thank you.
Dustin, we realize you're unopposed, so we got you up here for eye candy. I have just a fact I want to read real quick. It says the Ten Commandments contains 297 words. Lincoln's Gettysburg Address contains 266 words. The Bill of Rights contains 463 words. A recent federal directive to regulate the price of cabbage contains 28,911 words. Let's not talk about cabbage. The first question is for everyone sitting up here, for all the candidates, and it reads, medical marijuana is legal in 17 states in the District of Columbia. Idaho is one of the few states where legislation has yet to be passed. What is your stand on the legalization of marijuana for medical use and why? We will start on this side and go.
Absolutely not. I will not support, whatever happens in this election, I will not support medical marijuana. I've seen it. I've investigated accidents. I've seen what Dustin's talking about. In the 14 years I've served as a law enforcement officer, I will not support medical marijuana.
The easy answer is no. But I've had the opportunity over the last year to sit through a couple trainings on this. If you ever have the chance to sit with the retired U.S. District Attorney, Monty Stiles, and go through a training with him, if there's any question in your mind that this would be a good idea, he should change it for you. What he did with us as sheriffs is he showed us what Montana's gone through. You know, and it bothers me when I hear medical marijuana will save us money and make us money and all of this kind of stuff. What Montana's experiencing is their child neglect cases are going through the roof. Fatal traffic crashes are going through the roof. Burglaries are going through the roof. They know where the head houses are where they can go and get the marijuana, so they're breaking in and stealing it. Drug cartels love it, as was just spoken of in Caribou County. 40,294 plants over there. $80.5 million worth of marijuana, and that's what we'll see in our mountains around here. So those that are going out to ride for cattle or to hunt, whatever, you might run running into these guys. And their orders are, Caribou County Sheriff just got information that their orders are, you will protect that grow no matter what. If it's with your life, it's with your life. And they're heavily armed people. We don't need that in our state. We don't need that in our county. As Dustin talked about, we see a lot of medical marijuana cases come through. State police stops a lot of them. And we've dealt with some of them. The first thing that comes out is their card. In Montana, the oldest age was 92. The average age to have a medical marijuana card was 43. Now hold on to your chairs because the youngest age was 2. 2 years old, had a medical card. So all they have to do is go in one building, pay $300 and get a card for a toenail that's giving them a problem, and they've got medical marijuana. You can grow up to 12 plants in your backyard. But that's not the end of it. What we need to do is, we're a small community, and there are counties, as we know, that will vote for this. And there was a push to get this on the ballot for this November, and they failed to get enough signatures to do that. So as a group of people and citizens, we need to get behind this and say we don't want this in our state. It's not for us. Idaho, Utah, and Wyoming are the last 3 in the western United States not to have medical marijuana. And so as citizens, we need to get behind that. I'll leave you with this last question. If it's so good for medical marijuana, or medical marijuana does so much good, why isn't Pfizer and the other large drug companies investigating and going after it? Because they're not. Just keep that in mind. Thanks.
Next question for the sheriffs, or sheriff's candidates. What do you see as the biggest problem for law enforcement in Oneida County, and what are your plans to deal with it? Jeff and then Ceylon.
I think a couple of the issues have already been talked about by the commissioner candidates. You know, we do a lot in our community as far as the drugs and things like that. And as I said before, we support the drug court program and sheriff program and different programs to give people some help. One of the issues we have with the sheriff's budget is, first of all, we're shipping all of our inmates to Bannock County. And second of all, whenever anyone is arrested by, say, ISP out on I-15, Idaho Code requires the sheriff to receive that inmate. We don't have any choice in that. We have to take charge of that inmate. As that inmate goes through, maybe it's a felony case and they're convicted of that. If they're put on felony probation, we're still responsible for the cost of that inmate. If they do something wrong and they have to go to jail, Oneida County still has to pay for that. So I think that's one of the big issues in our community is no doubt the funding and the budgets, but we work hard at taking care of that. We brought in over $1 million of grant money into the sheriff's office in the last 14 years. We're reapplying right now. Gene's reapplying for us for the Bear River Drug Task Force. We've had that going for about 11 years. This will be the third grant. It includes 11 different law enforcement agencies. Helps with manpower, but it also helps with overtime. I can call my officers in and we can work a drug case, and even if they're on days off, they're getting paid overtime from a federal grant instead of racking up overtime that's going to cost the county. So that's a big benefit. A lot of these grants are drying up right now. As Shelley said, we have to be creative, and we have been that throughout my tenure as sheriff for the 14 years, and we'll continue to look for those grants. But that's the big issue, is funding what we need to fund to protect our community. Thank you.
Like the sheriff said, drug program or drugs. I have no tolerance for drugs in this community. They're no good for us. They're no good for the people that take them. Getting them, the people that need the help is what we need to do. The drug court program, the diversion committee. We have 1,200 square miles of county that the sheriff's department has to cover. And that takes a department to do it. So we need to fund our department. However we can get it done, we need to fund our department and support them any way we can. Get the drugs out of the county, and I think the county will prosper. Just like we were talking about medical marijuana. It's no good. It's no. Thanks.
Sheriff's turn. How do you view the role of county sheriff in preserving the rights of the people of Oneida County, especially with regards to executing federal laws?
Executing federal laws is just like executing state and local laws. A sheriff, a police officer takes an oath to uphold the Constitution, and I support it. I have not changed my views on that since I left the sheriff's office, and I will support it from here on out.
The sheriff does not have authority to execute federal law or enforce federal law. We only have the authority to enforce state laws, city and county ordinances, fish and game laws and such. However, I have a great relationship with the FBI, DEA, U.S. Marshals. We've worked with all of those guys in our county from time to time. We've had a couple instances where the U.S. Marshals have come down to do some investigations and have told me how they're going to go about it, and I've told them, no, we're not going to do it that way. I know my people, we don't need to do it that way, and they said, great, you know your people, you tell us how we're going to do it. It's worked out great. The only time, I'll be honest, and this gun rights thing came up a few minutes ago, and I said, this is the concealed weapon permit, and I'll tell you all right here, the only time that I would defy the federal government and not cooperate with them is if they did enact gun control, and they come to me as sheriff and say, you need to start collecting guns. I will tell them, no, we're not doing that here. And I'll make you that promise. We were asked that question by, you may have heard of Glenn Beck. We had an interesting meeting with him one time, and he asked all the sheriffs inside the state that question. and every sheriff was the same at about the same time: no, we will not take people's guns. So we understand the West, we understand Idaho, but I do cooperate with the federal government, and they work with me very well as well. So I appreciate the relationship we have. Actually, for us, we have the best jail arrangement we could ask for right now. We don't have a jail of our own. The budget is about $220,000 a year to house inmates. We have a contract with Bannock County Jail, $49 a day. You know, where we don't have a jail, and $220,000 wouldn't even open the doors on the jail. If someone come to our county and built a jail and said, here's the keys, you don't owe us a thing, we couldn't afford to open the doors on it. We were able to. We were first over in Soda Springs, and they treated us very well. Fish Creek Pass was a little tough to get over in the winter sometimes with inmates, and then they didn't have, at the time, they didn't have a good medical program like Bannock County did. And we were paying out anywhere from $900 to $1,500 a month in medical for the inmates. And at one point, we were up over $25,000 at the end of the budget year. We were able to renegotiate that contract with Bannock County, and I thought at the time we would cut medical by about 70%. We've actually cut it by over 90%. My first bill from them was $45. They have registered nurses on the floor at all times, and it's worked out really well. Of course, the trip to Pocatello is a little quicker than Soda. So I think for us, we're doing great. The biggest issue we might have sometime down the road is if Bannock County says we don't have the room for you, we have too many of our own. But so far, that doesn't look like that's going to happen anytime in the near future, so I think we're doing real well with what we've got. Thank you.
As far as the jail goes in Oneida County, I think we need to, Bannock County Jail is probably the best place we can go for our inmates. But for housing local and overnighters, weekenders and overnighters and stuff like that, instead of incurring expenses on them, I wonder if we can bring them back here. That's the only issue I was looking at. So.
Yeah. Sure.
You know, even though I appreciate the idea of being able to house people here, the bottom line is there are standards to operate a jail. And just 2 weeks ago, I received this from the director's desk of the Idaho Sheriff's Association, and this is from ICRIMP. ICRIMP is our insurance company that insures us for liability. And they list all the standards. I'm not going to list those, but here's the paragraph we need to pay attention to. If a jail can't pass 8 standards beginning October 1st, 2013, ICRIMP will reduce the county's $3 million cap on liability coverage to $500,000. So in order to house someone overnight, it doesn't matter if you have 1 inmate in that cell, you have got to have 8 of these standards met in that holding cell. And the liability is way too great, and there's been some counties that have found out when they haven't followed the standards and something bad has happened. ICRIMP is just like any other insurance company. I don't mean to offend any insurance people, but the first thing they're going to look at is, are you following standards? Are you following procedures and training? And if you are not, they're going to cut you loose and you're on your own. And us as taxpayers will end up paying that money. So you have to understand liability, and that's one of the biggest jobs the sheriff has, is liability and keeping the county out of lawsuits. So that's just something we need to think about as far as jails. We have a great system right now. It costs us money, but that's what we asked for when we didn't pass the jail bond and ACLU shut us down. So that's where we're at.
What improvements would you make with the sheriff's department if elected?
I see a sheriff's department right now running well. I look forward to working with the current staff. I've worked with half of them already and trained with half of them. I don't see any need for a change in the sheriff's department. It's running well. They're a well-oiled machine, if you ask me anything about it. So that's it.
Appreciate that. As I said before, our biggest issue right now we're working on is the new drug task force grant, and hopefully we'll get funded for another 5 years on that. It's been a great asset to not only our office but throughout the region. We now have 11 agencies on that. My goal is, as far as building, is keeping the people that we've got there. As I said before, we have a great staff. Full-time, part-time, on the full-time officers and employees, you can show that they're dedicated, devoted to our community because they've dedicated their lives to this. This is what they do full-time. Part-time employees, they're devoted to our community as well. Reserve deputies, part-time dispatchers, as they come in and they work when they're off, on their days off, or even after they get done with their job. In the daytime, they come in and cover a few hours for our officers. Cover waterways, courts, all different types of things. They're very dedicated. Our search and rescue is a great bunch of people, 25 members, and they do a great job. They'll leave their families in a heartbeat and come out here and help any of us that need help. So right now, the task force is the biggest issue right now, and as far as that, we want to just forge ahead and keep doing what we've been doing, and I feel like we're well represented here with the staff I've got. Thank you.
Sheriff's candidates, what makes you the better choice for county sheriff?
Well, I think first of all is I've dedicated my life to this career. As I said, I started in 1982 as Ken Wharton, the sheriff, and the reason I left was because everyone else left too. In 1985, the sheriff department changed as it had been known for many years. Everyone went different directions, and Ken was retiring in February, and he offered then, he tried to help me get into sheriff, and I said I don't have the training or experience to do it, so I was hired by ISP and went to them. Over the past 14 years, I brought in a balanced budget. It's really hard to set a budget for the sheriff, especially an operating budget. You never know what's going to happen. And I've been able to turn money back each year, even in these tight times. I've cut my budget over 6% in the last 3 years. And we've worked hard on the jail budget. We've actually done pretty good this year in cutting the number of inmates we've had to hold and stayed as close to our contract as we can. I'm post-certified. I've been through Post Academy, the Idaho State Police Academy, National Sheriff's Institute in Colorado, and continue to do the training that I need to do to maintain my certification as well. We are a fair office, and I think we have a proven record in that. We treat everyone fair and equitable. We have policies in place that myself and my officers sit down and we talk about, and we make sure that we're listening to the people when we do enforce the law, but we also make sure that we're fair about it. I think we have a proven record. I think I have a proven record as your sheriff for the last 14 years, and I would appreciate your vote on November 6th. Thank you.
As been mentioned, I'm not post-certified. My certification lapsed 2 years ago. After 5 years, when you're out of law enforcement, you have to return to the Post Academy to recertify. But an elected official does not have to be post-certified. I feel I am well qualified to take this position because of my training in the military, my training that I've had with the city of Malad as an administrator, as superintendent for the public works, and the fire department, even in retail sales, selling scrapbook supplies. I've had a small amount of budget experience with the city. Every year I was there, I helped budget with the budget roads, the needs for the city for the following year. So I know I can do this job. Thanks.
That's all the questions we have tonight, but we will give each candidate 1 minute if they would like to make a closing statement. We'll start here. Whoever wants it. closing statement, okay?
I actually heard the vicious rumor we had 3 minutes in the beginning, and apparently that wasn't so. So I just wanted a couple more things that we've done in our office, and one that we're really happy with is we partnered with Bright Tomorrows in Pocatello. Bright Tomorrows is a forensic interview for child abuse and for child victims of sexual abuse under the age of 18. We partnered with them in the Crisis Center. The Crisis Center has put in an office out there and set up through a grant all the recording equipment, and we've sent Lieutenant Sherman to Oregon and to Twin Falls. She's now a certified forensic interviewer for children under the age of 18 in those kind of cases, so we can handle those here a little quicker and get the victim help quicker. The other thing I'm proud of is we really support our local businesses. In the last 4 years, Detective Schwartz is over our bad checks that come in, and we investigate those, and many agencies won't do that. They just say it's a civil matter, and we've collected just shy of $13,000 in the last 4 years for our local businesses off checks. And we've done that, 90% of that money has been collected without going to court, just by working with the people that wrote those checks. So we're pleased with that. Again, I just would appreciate your vote. I appreciate being your sheriff, and I think we have a great community, and we just want to keep it that way. Thank you.